Numerous studies show that when it comes to life and health insurance, a majority of Canadians are underinsured. In fact, more than half of Canadians still do not have life insurance. And with the rising cost of living and debt, now you may be thinking that this is not the time to be buying protection. However, this could actually be the time when you need it the most. Joining me now with his advice on how much insurance you need and how to save money is Jason Heath. He is a fee-only financial planner with Objective Financial Partners. Jason, great to have you back on, and Happy New Year.
Thanks, Saijal.
You know, it's interesting to me that so many people underestimate the need for protection and see it as a
hmm
financial burden when it could actually save them from it.
For sure. And look, I'll admit as a financial planner, I appreciate the importance of insurance, obviously, but I've got a bunch of personal and business insurance policies that renew in January. So I'm just paying those premiums right now, and I pay my premiums annually because that tends to reduce the cost by about 6 to 9% versus paying monthly. And I'm feeling the pain, especially after the holidays. But I think that one of the biggest challenges with cutting out a cost like insurance is you don't really need insurance until you do need it. And if you cut it out or you're underinsured or whatever the case may be, the financial burden can be significant, not only for your family, but also for yourself.
Yeah. Obviously there's a cost to buying protection, right? And people are trying to save money. In your experience, Jason, do you think people are buying less protection to save money? Or could they just be buying the wrong type of protection, with all the bells and whistles and the riders, and they're buying so much more than they
Yeah.
actually need?
Well, sometimes I think it is a case of buying the wrong type of insurance. Insurance, generally, when insurance is expensive, not all the time, but usually when it's expensive, it's because you're insuring a risk that is likely to happen, or it's a big potential benefit or payout. And just to give an example, to buy a life insurance policy when you're 25 years old is cheap because you're not likely to die. The life insurance policy is not likely to pay out. But buying a disability insurance policy when you're 25 years old that could potentially pay you out every year for the next 40 years if you were to become disabled can be very expensive on a relative basis. So I find a lot of people opt for life insurance and ignore other types of insurances. But definitely, there are life insurance products out there that are more expensive because there are bells and whistles, there's investment components. And
Yeah.
I think for the vast majority of Canadians, that's not the right type of life insurance for them to be buying.
Yeah, so let's get into that because term insurance is I know a popular one. It's certainly cheaper when it comes to premiums. When does it make
Sure.
sense for someone to buy term insurance?
So, term life insurance, just to clarify, is a type of insurance you buy for a 5 year term or a 10-year term or a 20-year term, for example. And the premiums stay the same during the term. And as long as you pay those premiums, if you die during that term, there's a death benefit that pays out to your beneficiaries. And that type of insurance, I think, is really important when you have people that are dependent upon you financially, whether it's a spouse, whether it's children. Oftentimes, people will recommend to get life insurance when you're young because it's cheap. Even to buy a life insurance policy for a young child, for example, because they'll have it when they grow up. I'm not so sure about that. I think the main reason to go out and buy life insurance, especially term life insurance, is when you're working and you have people who are dependent on you financially.
Yeah. We only have about 45 seconds to the break. So, when it does make sense, so if you have children, because I know I've seen situations where they're like, okay, my kids will be financially independent by the time they're 25. So, term insurance only makes sense for until that point. That's a
For
reasonable
sure.
argument. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that within 5 years of retirement, for example, might become self-insured. In other words, they're financially independent, and if something happened to them, their spouse or their kids would be okay because the kids are off the payroll and they're pretty close to being retired and financially independent anyways. So not everybody needs life insurance forever, and oftentimes as you approach retirement, it's time to consider whether you have too much coverage.